Hey guys, just wanted to take a moment to thank you for listening to SiDEBAR Forever. If you like the show, please subscribe to us at sidebarforever.com, as well as share episodes of the podcast on your social media. That way, new listeners can find us as well. The man in the beskar armor has returned in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's epic tale of bounty hunting, double crosses, giant monsters, and galaxy-hopping adventures in Season 2 of Disney's The Mandalorian. All the familiar faces from Season 1 are back as well. Cara Dune, Greef Karga, Moff Gideon, and of course, Baby Yoda, who we find out his true name is really Grogu. We also get some fresh faces with this new season, such as Morgan Elsbeth, Cobb Vanth, and from Rebels and Clone Wars, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano. It's a real hoot. In the conversation, Dwight and Swain compare the violence and kills from seasons 1 and 2. Talk about the casting choices of Rosario Dawson, Katee Sackhoff, and Timothy Olyphant, and revel in the return of Temuera Morrison as Boba Fett. And also, rest in peace to the Razor Crest. Both seasons of The Mandalorian are available now on the Disney Plus app. Check them out ASAP. We have spoken. And as always, thanks for listening to the podcast.
Good morning, Dr. Silberman. How's the knee?
Did you just have a brain fart?
I know Taekwondo.
Stop eating my sesame cake!
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fuck with me, and we'll see who shits on the sidewalk.
Come quietly, or there will be trouble.
Clearly, I wasn't talking to you, big titties. You cherub-looking motherfucker.
While you were still learning how to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
The real question is, what are those?
Welcome back, everybody. It's Swain and Dwight on this episode, and we are here to talk about and to discuss The Mandalorian Season 2.
Right.
Released on October 30th, which is actually my wife's birthday.
Nice.
And the last episode concluded on December 18th. And I think
Right.
Dwight and I are both pretty high and pretty thumbs up on this season of The Mandalorian.
This is the way.
This is the way, yo. There you go. That's the proper set off, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Mandalorian Season 1 was a real triumph. We didn't know what to expect, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
We were introduced to then Baby Yoda, who we now know is Grogu.
Right.
And lots of memes and lots of like this is the way, and
right.
Just tons of cool things that came from The Mandalorian Season 1. One of the things that I think we all kind of walked away with, and D, you maybe can speak to this better than I can, but
okay.
As near as I can tell, this is really feeling like Star Wars on some level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing in the Star Wars camp right now. There's an ongoing, quote unquote, civil war, which may or may not be necessarily true in regards to the people in charge, like Kathleen Kennedy in one camp, and Jon Favreau and Filoni in another, who has the best reputation amongst fans and who has the best narrative focus for the future of Star Wars since it's been passed on by Lucasfilm. Mm-hmm. And it's an ongoing argument, man. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a hands down thing for Filoni and Favreau.
Yeah.
I mean the Fantastic Four, if you will, the Fantastic Duo, FF2,
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing.
I agree, man. And even going back for Filoni, even going back to Rebels and Clone Wars. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy just really has his finger on the pulse of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. I mean, I told you and Adrian that my daughter Sky is, she's a big fan of Rebels and Clone Wars.
Right.
She has not watched Mandalorian, and she's not really that interested in the live action stuff. She kind of fell off from that.
Sure.
But and Ahsoka Tano is her favorite, Star Wars character.
Right.
Even over the the characters from the original trilogy, which she adores.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so I think you're right. I think, you know, I don't know how things are playing out online or, you know, in the deep Star Wars fandom, but I do think that that Filoni and Favreau really do have they have it right. They've got a handle on what Star Wars could and should be for the future.
Yeah.
You know, with season 1 and season 2.
It's a situation now wherein, you know, we're looking for is, I guess, the ones that have a high profile YouTubers that are really supporting and get behind them. And there's a whole thing right now where one of the prominent individuals inside of the Lucas camp, or quote unquote Disney Lucas camp, is criticizing one of the YouTubers for showing emotions on his YouTube screening of it. And I won't mention his name because, as far as I'm concerned, he's a scumbucket. And you know, the idea of someone taking a stance against a fan who was appreciating your work and appreciating to the point to where it brings tears to his eyes that's repulsive to me.
It is to me as well, yeah.
Like how dare you? You know, I mean, this is what it's all about. Stories are supposed to touch people and make their lives engaging, and if you could touch a chord inside of somebody to make them appreciate your work better, then you've done your job, you know, and done it well. Yeah. You know, you superseded your job, you know.
I agree.
And this guy has no idea what he's doing and what kind of discord he's sown in the community. He needs to be put down. So
okay, not literally, just, you know.
No, not literally, but I mean, you know,
a blaster to the skull.
Right. Which, if you notice, man, you know, it's a funny segue. You should say that, but you notice, I think this season was a lot more human on human violence, dude. Like the impact was quite you know, obvious. You know, last season was just you know, Droid and buckets, you know, they were getting shot. When you say buckets, I'm talking about the stormtroopers. They were getting shot, no personality, you know, they're just bodies falling. You know, a couple of Jawas ate it, you know, a couple other creatures ate it from Din Djarin's, you know, awesome gun. But there were no actual point-and-point headshots. There were some headshots this time, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was fine. You know, they ramped up some things in season 2. That they, you know, like you said, they went from level 1 to level 5 in season 2 versus season 1. And then also 2, I think the other thing about season 2 is it seems as if the things that really worked for season 1, they didn't abandon those things or say, hey, let's reinvent the wheel. They say, okay, let's take it and let's put another layer of icing on it. Let's put some sprinkles on the motherfucker now. Let's really make it pop. But the stars of a Mandalorian season 2, you know, we've got our mainstays or our go-tos, of course, Pedro Pascal as the central character.
Din Djarin.
Giancarlo Esposito, which is actually how you pronounce his. That's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, it's Esposito.
Okay, I thought you said Esposito. Oh, go ahead.
No, well, yeah, I'm positive it's Esposito.
Okay.
He's back as Moff Gideon. Gina Carano's back. Carl Weathers, Amy Sedaris, Ming Na Wen, and Bill Burr. And then also they added Katee Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. And then we see Temuera Morrison.
Yeah. Back as the incredible Boba Fett, sir.
As the Boba Fett, yo.
Killing it, sir.
Yeah, yo. It was really nice. And we also have Diana Lee Inosanto, Timothy Olyphant, Michael Biehn. And then in the final episode, which I think is entitled The Rescue, we see Mark Hamill kind of come back.
Kind of Mark Hamill, yeah.
As Luke Skywalker, but
which was a nice reprise.
It was.
I gotta give my props out to the boss from I got him to Mercedes Vernado, dude, as one of the Mandalorian warriors too, dude. She killed it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, man.
There we go. This season, you know, written and produced, you know, again by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Right.
And most of the same directors came back, with the exception of added to it was Robert Rodriguez.
Okay. Yes.
His episode was fantastic, yo.
Oof.
Oh,
that was the acknowledgement and the reintroduction of Boba Fett into the canon, man.
Yes, yo, it was glorious.
Yeah, man.
And then when Ming-Na showed back up as Fennec, I was like, oh, shit,
Yes, man. Yes, man. It was a full court press.
Yes. And then we also have, as a director, Carl Weathers, who gave us the gloriously memed jeans guy.
Yeah, man. That was... Woo. I mean, that's what happens when you're wearing two hats, man. I mean, inevitably... You're going to something's going to get mixed up, but that's not really his fault in that situation. I mean, yes, you could say he's a director, the buck stops and starts with him, but at the same time, that's also a production issue where you have the cameraman who's not fully focusing on what he should be doing and not establishing appropriate boundaries, and then they're not cutting out. They easily could have cut that little small, like maybe 10-second, 5-second piece of film that you saw there, and out of it if they've been doing the editing properly.
Well, they didn't. Obviously, they didn't catch it before it was released.
Exactly.
And I understand they have since digitally taken him out.
Right. Oh, okay. Really?
So
nice.
So Gene's guy did get a blaster to the head. So
righteously so, man. You see this is one of those gaffers, man, that is probably standing by in the background someplace, right? And he's just like on the set watching the action from a distance, eating potato chips and shit.
Well, the way they tend to shoot things, I mean, everything is about the frame. So oftentimes, like if you're shooting someone and there's a character outside the window and you're shooting from over the shoulder of a character who's inside the room,
right?
Just to the left and right of the character outside the window, there's probably a sound person or someone else right there.
Okay. Sure, makes sense.
So, everything is just about the frame and just making sure that, you get what you need in the frame, and then with enough of a bleed over so that you can move it and adjust it a little bit if you need to. But
right.
But these are mistakes, and we live in a digital age where you can't go back and change it, and now it's gone forever. And
it's funny you should mention that too, man, because another one occurred also with the Temuera Morrison episode.
Yeah,
supposedly it was like a plane or a helicopter.
It was a helicopter. It was a helicopter.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I go back and look for it, and I don't see it now. It's like they could.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering, man, about that crazy, I mean, I was glad to see Luke Skywalker. But, they need to take more time to carefully craft the technology that they're using to make people's faces, to bring people's faces into current usage. I mean, it wasn't even de-aging software, man. I mean, that was something else. And I'm still up in arms about what it could have been. It's either a deep fake, or, I've seen artists online that can do a better job of doing a likeness of Mark Hamill than that.
Well,
so I don't know what that was, man.
No, you're right. I mean, that was more along the lines of like the Surrogates, if you remember the film, where it's like the skin. And the face looks very plastic and kind of mannequin-esque.
Right.
And what Dwight is referencing is the final episode, The Rescue, where Mark Hamill does reprise himself in a way as Luke Skywalker, and he kind of comes and saves our heroes who are about to get their asses handed to them by the Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
But I thought the same thing. People were like, oh, the final episode of The Mandalorian it was a religious experience. Oh, I levitated. My water broke. I mean, it was just, it was every kind of, effusive reaction that you could find. And I was like, okay, it was cool.
Right.
I dug it.
Right.
It was cool to see Mark Hamill. I actually preferred the scenes where you couldn't see his face and he was just walking through and just, knocking out Dark Troopers, like it was all good.
Yeah.
But like the CGI on the face, it was like you said, it was either like a deep fake or, and to some extent, I guess we have to be somewhat forgiving of television because television is a much faster medium than films are. So, all of the production that they're doing is probably times 100 in terms of the speed that they're trying to get it done so they can get, meet a deadline and get it out there. So
no, not in this case, because if this was a week-to-week television type situation, I'd say yes. But the fact that these guys have a production schedule is like a year in advance, and the long game in this situation was that Filoni and they plan on bringing Luke back at the end of this episode, end of this season anyway.
Right.
So, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
But you say that though, D. But keep in mind, I mean, if you look at this season versus the last season,
right,
the look of everything was ramped up.
That's true.
The spaceships and the landscapes and the vistas were all immaculate and really looked much more impressive than the first season. So what you're talking about in terms of this particular episode, I agree with you. They were planning this. They had to have known it was coming, but at the same time, they ramped up all of the special effects and all of the CGI and all of that had to. So, you know what I mean? If they had spent, 20% of their time on just Luke Skywalker, then they really are paying the other areas of the show a disservice, at least to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, I was, but at the same time, I did feel a certain kind of way, man, when I saw him again for the first time, and he did that semblance of the Return of the Jedi when he stepped into Jabba's palace.
Oh yeah,
he's like, I want you to release Captain Solo and give him to me, and Jabba's like, whoa, 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 ha, 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 whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I had that kind of feeling, man. It was like, and just to see, and not knowing what he was going. Here's the thing, not knowing who it was in the X-wing, because my TV's not the biggest in the world, but some people say that you could see R2 in the back of it. Yeah, I couldn't from my screen. My screen's not small.
I have a pretty big TV, but I couldn't either, yo.
Yeah, I couldn't see it, and it was one X-wing. It could have been anybody, for far as I was concerned, it could have been a lead X-wing. It could have been many more. He was the first one to get there first. It could have been other X-wings coming up, behind it or whatever the case may be.
But of course, once you saw the green lightsaber,
yes, I knew.
You knew. Yeah.
And when I saw that belt buckle, sir,
yeah.
I knew it was a farm boy from Tatooine that made it big, man.
There we go.
I was like, yes, man.
Let me ask you, man, just two quickies.
Sure.
Of the characters from the first season that came back in the second season, did you have a favorite moment for one of those? And what's one of your favorite moments from one of the new characters that they introduced in season 2?
Unexpectedly, I have to say Bill Burr's character, man.
Same, yeah.
Yeah. He had a very humanizing effect on what it feels like you would be. That whole segment, that whole episode was really good. That was by Fumahara, wasn't it? Was it Fumahara that did it?
You mean Rick?
Rick, yeah, Rick.
Famuyiwa.
Famuyiwa. Okay, Famuyiwa.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Rick's episode. Okay, so yeah, man,
believe.
that whole episode it read to me like a scene out of an actual war movie, dude. It felt right to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
The pacing was dead on, and the humanization of the stormtroopers was interesting and engaging. Like, okay, it seems like no matter from any perspective, you can have a person either be a hero or a villain, depending who has the camera at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
even the exchange that that Burr's character has with Mando in the vehicle when they're on their way to the to that fortress or that compound.
Yeah.
And he says, you don't take your helmet off. I won't tell anybody. He says,
right.
He says, everybody's got all these rules. He says, but essentially, I'm paraphrasing. He says, your rules kind of go out the window when certain pressures are applied, and everybody has to kind of adjust and do what they got to do. And then, of course, later on in the episode, which I think was called the tragedy.
Was it
then
tragedy?
Later on in the episode, that's when Mando does take his helmet off in front of Burr.
Right.
And Burr says, hey, look, I won't tell anybody,
Right.
It's just between me and you. But
right.
But yeah, he
brown eyes.
Yeah, brown eyes. Yeah. That's right. He did call him brown. Fucking A, that was funny.
Yeah, it was.
But I hated him in that first season.
Yeah, he was an ass on the first
I was
season.
like, kill him. Like, suck him into outer space, do something. I need to stop hearing him. But in this one, like you said, it was very humanizing. Mm-hmm. And he made you believe, especially when they're sitting in the cafeteria with the commander,
right?
And then the commander tells a story, and Bird tells his side of the story, and then then it pops off. But what about from one of the new characters, man?
I mean, and also I give a respectable shout out to Dean Big Brother Almighty too, sir. His return in this season was awesome too. Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
He was awesome too, man. Like he brought it like full force in this, this latest season.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that guy that was you could tell he like he said in the extended scenes where they're talking about the whole season in a nice nutshell, how involved he was in making sure that what it was to be a Moff and how he got that and how he wanted to be, when he was a kid he looked up to Peter Cushing's version what a Moff was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and you could tell he really amped it up, man. And when he said certain things, like he says, he was talking to Din Djarin about his quote unquote brother in the Mandalorian. I said they're barbarians. Mm-hmm. He had a certain kind of disdain in his voice, man, which I loved. I loved his portrayal, man.
I did too, and I liked the fact that when it came down to the dark saber.
Yeah, man.
We find out, Bo-Katan wants this back.
Right.
And then we find out that, Mando is able to get it from Moff, but it's like, okay, no. It has to be one. It won't work unless it's one from the person.
Right.
That you take it from. And so, now this creates this weird tension between, Mando and Bo-Katan, which is it my understanding that Katee Sackhoff actually voices the character, or she voiced the character of Bo-Katan in the animated?
Exactly, she did. And
okay.
Then she reprises the role in actual live action, which is awesome to me.
Yeah, I
love it. But there's also some inconsistency too there as far as what the animated series did and what they did in the live action series, and that one of the characters that has one of the Mandalorians that actually has the dark saber actually gives her the dark saber once before anyway. Like she actually gives it to her, hands it over to her, and she takes it. But I guess maybe what it is because Moff Gideon put her on the spot, that in front of her other Mandalorians, that she couldn't just willfully take it the way she wanted to, even though, Din just like I don't want it, take it.
Right.
I paraphrase there too for
sure.
Yeah,
I took it just so I could give it to you, and we could get on with this. So
right. But you got to admit though, man, he probably shouldn't have been coming in there brandishing like when it was on and shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like he had Moff Gideon already in some shackles and whatnot, dude. He didn't have to have it on like it's like, yeah, I got this. This is my kill and whatnot, dude. You know what I mean? So that probably set her off. Look at how he wields it. He wields it with such mastery. He could be no,
Right. So you and I, for anyone who doesn't know, you and I had the opportunity to actually meet and a little bit of hanging out in an interview with Rosario Dawson years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
That's right. Wow.
And we met her via our friend David Atchison.
Right.
And I was telling him online that I really thought it was cool. One, when we met her, she seemed like great person. But I'm really happy to have her in the Star Wars universe as Ahsoka, who is my daughter's favorite Star Wars character.
Right.
And then also really representing like the first, she's the first woman of color,
right,
to be featured as an unbridled badass in the Star Wars universe. You know what I mean?
That's true.
She's not a side character who's there as an appendage to the male character. She's not part of a crew like Tandy Newton's character was in the Solo movie. She is her own badass, and Rosario, from what I understand from an interview I read, she was ready to bring it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really great. But what did you think about her translation? Because you watched Clone Wars and Rebels. What did you think about her translation of the character to live action?
I mean, her translation was flawless. From a cartoon to a live action, even a CGI character like Ahsoka Tano. I must admit, I still like Ashley Eckstein's voice because that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got that innocence to her that Rosario doesn't have, that's lost, and that's fitting considering what this is and what she's gone through to become who she's become. I mean, this is after her, her innocence being a Padawan to Skywalker. This is after her leaving the Jedi Order and coming back, and kind of somewhat coming back, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, so all that she went through in Order 66. So this is the scarred woman. This is what's left over.
And that's what Skylar was saying when she was talking about the continuity. She said, well, I guess after the second animated series, she said, Ahsoka was like in her 30s. And I guess, Rosario and Filoni got together. And Ahsoka is Dave Filoni's creation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so my understanding is they got together and figured it out that, okay, could she kind of be a woman in her 40s at this point? And like you said, obviously that would mean the innocence that Ashley Eckstein brought to, the teenage, Padawan Ahsoka to the, older, more battle-scarred young woman to now.
Right.
It would kind of make sense. But it is kind of it does feel a bit like a missed opportunity that you don't get any of that. And maybe they'll, when they do what I understand is going to be an Ahsoka Tano live action series starring Rosario, then maybe they'll do some flashbacks and maybe we will get some of that, that innocent part of her.
That'll be awesome, man. I'm with it.
Yeah. I think I liked Timothy Olyphant in the that one episode, and I liked Michael Biehn being in.
Right.
I like both of them being in the Mandalorian sub-universe, but they didn't give him much to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Timothy Olyphant is basically playing, a version of his character from Justified, or just like a sheriff in a town, in a western.
Right.
He didn't have to do much.
This is my town.
Yeah. And Biehn basically was like wallpaper. He's just like standing around, and he gets to kind of sneer and kind of do his, his Johnny Ringo thing,
Yeah, it was so weird, man. Like I couldn't even. Well, first of all, as Olyphant goes, he was a little too skinny for me for that Mando costume, for that Mando armor, dude. I was like, yeah, you need to eat a couple wafers or something, dude. Like you're obviously not eating enough to fill that costume out. So I knew he really wasn't a Mandalorian when he first comes into the bar, like an old fashioned gunslinging sheriff would.
Yeah. Bow-legged ass, bow-legged ass motherfucker.
Is he bow-legged? Yo, really?
Well, I mean, usually skinny guys always kind of feels like they kind of bow-legged in the desert, the western,
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's funny, man. So I didn't get that, and also as far as Biehn goes, like I'm used to Biehn being a lot more talkative and have a lot more things to say, and be more effusive than he was, but he was kind of just like very laid back and well, like I didn't think that was him. Like they either downplayed his looks or he's aged in a way which I won't say is not gracefully, but he's kind of rough around the ears now a little bit.
Well, he's had some work done, as many people in Hollywood do when they they get over a certain age.
Okay.
But I felt the same way when he was up on top of the wall with Inosanto's character.
Right.
I didn't catch that it was him. It was only when he started moving around and he came down at one point. It was like, oh, that's Michael Biehn. Okay.
Right.
So I didn't really get it either, to be honest.
Right.
It kind of missed me, but well, we know Mandalorian season 3 is coming. We know Pedro Pascal is coming back. And we know we're gonna get Ahsoka Tano and is there another Star Wars TV series that they announced?
Yes, Temuera Morrison is coming.
Oh, yeah.
The Book of Boba Fett, sir.
The Book of Boba Fett. Really, they should just call it Old Man Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That's really where we are with it. It's like Old Man Logan, Old Man Blade, Old Man Boba Fett is really what we're talking about.
Hey, man, when he came into Jabba's palace and Bib Fortuna sitting on the throne, his fat ass now, he's like, Boba!
Yeah.
I've heard I heard things about you. I was like, I don't want to hear that shit. You didn't even look for me. Pew pew.
Right. And that final keyframe where they pull back and it's Finnick on one side and Boba sitting on the
throne.
On the throne, that was nice, yo.
It was like watching the final scene of Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the King Aquilonia, dude.
Yeah. So
it was awesome.
So hats off, and mad props to to the Mandalorian season 2 for really bringing it and taking it up several notches.
Yep.
And
rest in peace to the Razor Crest.
Oh, yes. Oh, before we go, that's something I wanted to mention. So, you know how all Star Wars fans, we take a lot of pride and a lot of ownership over the characters and the spaceships and the planets and everything about it.
The lightsabers, right? Yeah.
Everything. Like it's us. Once it's ours, it's ours forever.
Right.
So I guess Filoni and Favreau smartly said, look, we're not going to have any Millennium Falcon shit going on 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Oh, man.
The ship is gone. That's one. Ship is gone. What's the name of the ship? Razorback?
Razor Crest. Yeah.
Razor Crest. Razor Crest is gone. Forget it. Second, season 2. This helmet must stay on shit. Look, rules are made to be broken.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Rules are made to be broken, and we're probably going to reach a point in Pedro Pascal's, in his a point in his career, as it relates to being a part of this show, where he's going to have to renegotiate his contract. He's probably going to be asking for more money.
Right.
And at that point, it was like, no. We need to see that pretty face, that handsome face, and that impish smile. We need to see all that. Fuck this helmet, this mask shit.
Well, man, arguably speaking, the Mandalorians are warriors, so he may not wear it as much. He may keep it on the side like the other more mainstream Mandalorians do.
Right.
Because as it's been stated, what the sect he was part of is like they're looked upon as being zealots.
Right. They're like the fundamentalists versus, I guess, Sackhoff and her squad, which were more like the kind of reformist or kind of like more of a modern take.
Which is odd because she's of a pure bloodline than Din Djarin. Yeah, Din Djarin's
he was a foundling. Yeah, he was a foundling. Yeah.
That concludes this episode of Sidebar Forever, hosted by Dwight Clark, Swain Hunt, and Adrian Johnson. You can find us online at sidebarforever.com. Any emails or questions can be directed to us at sidebarforever@gmail.com. And also, subscribe to us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.